this place was still under the rubble. Oh. Actually, we had no clue. The only one who told us all the way that there is a hippodrome was a historian called Josephus Flavius. He said that next to the theater there was another great stadium, and we never found it until we started digging here. And look what we found. We found the original seats that started from over there all the way. We found the oval shape here.
Oh yeah.
However, look. The seats stopped right here, and no seats on this side.
Okay.
Originally there were seats on that side. Guess what happened? The waves and the wind destroys it. And the funny thing is that we think that they probably used cheap materials, they probably didn't know how to build. I wanted to know that when we finished the whole excavation, we paved this whole walkway where these people are walking over there with beautiful pavement. The first winter, all the pavement was found over there.
Oh my
In
goodness.
other words, the wind and the waves are so strong that they can even, just knock out the pavement, which was cemented. And that's why what you find today is actually concrete only. You walk on, that's it. All to say, the power of nature were strong then, and they're still strong now, and that's why a very big portion of the hippodrome is gone today. But I don't want to start from the middle. I want to go back to the beginning. Children of Israel, remember Abraham came all the way from Ur. Remember, he came all the way to the promised land. From his loins came Isaac and Jacob. From Jacob there were the 12 sons. They went down to Egypt. Remember, they became slaves to the Egyptians. And remember, after that, Moses redeemed them from the house of bondage all the way out. And it is Joshua who led them into the land of Israel. They failed to possess the whole land. They actually did not do the right thing in the eyes of God. And they were basically governed by not too godly people. The children of Israel wanted kings, bad kings, good kings, but eventually Assyria took them, and Babylon came. After Babylon came Persia, and after the Persians came the Greek, and after the Greek, the Jews had independence for about 100 years. Between 167 and 67 BC, the Jews, under the very well-known family called the Maccabees, or the Hasmonean family, they ruled the country. But they hate each other so much, and they assume upon themselves jobs that were not theirs. For example, the king became the high priest, although he was not even a priestly family. A lot of things like that, that, believe it or not, it is the people who invited the Romans, please come in and do something. The Romans gladly came in the year 67 BC, 68 BC, 67 BC, and the Romans understood one thing. They understood that they don't understand. It takes a lot of courage to admit that you don't know the culture of another country and another people. And what they did was very smart. They chose a local person to rule on their behalf. They took a man called Antipater, who was half a Jew, half a Gentile. He was Edomian, and they told him, "You will govern on our behalf." He died, some say assassinated, and then his son, whose name was Herod, became the ruler. He started with a smaller area, then became the ruler of the entire region. Herod had all the reason to fail. Okay, watch this. Edomian father, Arab mother, Greek upbringing, Roman culture, and the guy thought that he's half Jewish. I mean, what are the chances for you to even keep your sanity? Herod, by the way, suffered from what we call split personality syndrome. He had schizophrenia. No. The analyst analyzed all of his actions and all of his saying, and we believe that the guy had two different characters. He really suffered from schizophrenic personality disorder. Herod could have been the nicest person and a great builder. At the same time, he could have those moments where he could slaughter his wife, his children, his brother, everyone he could maybe suspect that he's after him. Herod was a short guy. Not that I have anything against short guys, but sometimes when you suffer from schizophrenic disorder, it affects the way you think and you want to be big shot. And you need to understand that for Herod, he wanted to create mini Rome and to be like mini Caesar. Herod was looking all over the country for a place to build the mini Rome that he always wanted. He actually noticed that between Joppa in the south, where Tel Aviv is, and all the way in Haifa, at Dor, there is absolutely between them no harbor. And the country must have a harbor in order to survive, in order to flourish. And Herod decided to take a little small village called Stratos Tower and build on top of this the most amazing city with the third largest harbor in the world of those days. Right at the same year, it was 20 BC. It took him about 10, 12 years to build this city. From 22 to 10 BC, there's 12 years that he built this city. Just at the same time, concrete was invented. And Herod was courageous enough to use concrete for his benefit. What he did, he created wooden frames, put them in the middle of the sea, and poured concrete. And the concrete, once it dried, became very, very heavy and sunk down. More and more and more. And basically what Herod created is a broad street on the sea. Huge! 1,600 foot long, 160 foot wide. That's a huge thing, all made of concrete. And he created a whole, what we call breakwater, right there in a shape like this. And basically he engulfed it from the other side like this. And he created a harbor with a narrow entrance for the big ship. And that big docking place was enough, like another city by itself. Herod built here unbelievable buildings. But he really didn't want to build it all for himself only. He wanted to create a name for himself that everybody will know. This whole harbor was to greet everyone from Rome, to show them how big he is. He called it Sabastos, the Magnificent. If that was not enough, Herod built here a horse race stadium. Right here. It's unbelievable. It started over there where there is ramp. The seats, ignore this building, the seats were all around here. You could seat a lot of people. And probably it was double the height. And if that's not enough, he built also what you call by mistake an amphitheater, but it's actually a theater. Amphitheater is double theater, where there is absolutely no stage, there's only arena. A theater is half a circle with a stage. The stage is called bima seat, and the area where the musicians used to sit was called orchestra. That's how we call orchestra today, a group of musicians. That's when we get to the theater, you'll be able to see. So why do I mention that? Every 4 years, he instituted the Caesarean Games, like there's the Olympic Games, Caesarean Games. But the cool thing about Herod, he's the one who invented the silver and bronze medal. Up until Herod's period, the winner took it all. You either win and you take your gold and you win, or you go home. Now, if you want to attract athletes to come to your games, you need to give them a chance to win something, even if they're not the best. And so he's the one who started second, silver, and third, bronze. And he attracted a lot of people. In the heights of the glory, you can imagine to yourself, Herod is sitting over there. You see, that's the area where all the distinguished guests would sit. You see, there are no seats underneath. You see, it was a platform where they sit. It was covered. It was like the box of the rich people. VIP, huh? The VIPs. And underneath there are niches in the wall. It is called sakelum, and this is where the participants in the games used to bring an offering to the gods and ask for the blessings of the gods upon the games. It's very pagan in a sense. And Herod the Great sat right there, and after Herod died, the Romans decided Herod was so strong and so charismatic, but his sons are not even close to what he was. And the Romans never trusted the Herodian children, and they started sending their own governors to this region. And that's how people like Pontius Pilate made it in this area. Before that, there was no Roman governor here. You would not find a Roman governor when Herod the Great was here. But since he died, they started coming every few years. And when they came here, that was their time to make money. We'll take taxes from this one, bribery from this one. We make money as much as we can. They expected even Paul to pay something to be released, remember? And of course he wouldn't. What I'm saying is that the governors used that time to not only establish power, but make money to support their campaign for bigger offices in Rome later on. Just like today's politics. They give you an office, you abuse it, you make money because you want to run for a higher office. Nothing is different. This hippodrome served a very interesting event. Pontius Pilate received the commission to come over here and be the commissioner, or the governor. And but the day he came, he thought, I'm going to show those Jews who is the master of this country. And immediately ordered all the Roman soldiers to march inside Jerusalem with big banners of the face of Caesar. The Jewish people knew if we're not going to put an end to it now, that's the end. Immediately, a delegation of Jews from Jerusalem and from other places came all the way to Cesarea where the Roman governor lived. And they went all around his palace and begged him to remove those big banners of Caesar's face. He wouldn't do it. On the fourth day, he told them, gather everyone, all those Jews in the middle of this place, and told his soldiers to surround them. And on the pretext that he has an answer to give them, he basically was about to butcher them and kill them. And he stood right there, Pontius Pilate, and said, if you do not receive and accept the images of Caesar in Jerusalem, I am going to cut you to pieces. Now, he expected all of them and run away. That's what he thought was going to happen. He thought he's going to win here. What he did not take in consideration is that these Jews, dumbfounded at the unexpected sight, as if by agreement, fell on their knees, bent their necks, and told him, we're ready to be slaughtered than to transgress the law. Hundreds of Jews offering their throats, amazed at their religious fervor. Pilate ordered the big banners of Caesar's face to be removed from Jerusalem instantly. And the one thing Pilate understood is, you can do a lot of things to the Jewish people, but the minute you touch their religious affairs, they are crazy. Now that's an interesting story, because a few years later, it's Passover. He's in Jerusalem, he's eating and he's drinking, and he hears some noise outside. And he asks his soldiers, what's going on? They said, look, they have some sort of a guy here that they were about to kill. And he says, what? Bring him over. They start questioning Jesus, and he finds nothing wrong with this guy. And he says, all right, those Jews are crazy, I know that. Been there, done that. I'm gonna do it, make a deal here. You know, it's Passover, I can release someone. Why don't you give him to me, and I'll release him, just for Passover. No, we prefer someone else to be released. Who was he? Barabbas. We prefer that this man will die because he blasphemed God. And you know, Pontius Pilate is the governor on behalf of Rome, which is the biggest empire in the world of those days. And he's like that. He's in his palace in Jerusalem, and he is like that because he remembers the event in Cesarea, right where we sit right now, where hundreds of Jews offer their throats to be killed just for a few banners. Now they're talking about a live person. What am I going to do? I know one thing. I better give them what they want. And I better wash my hands. And I better tell them, look, his blood is not on me, that it is on you and on your children. You want him, take him. It's interesting. The story I told you about Josephus describing the event here is not in the Bible. It's in Josephus' book. But it couldn't be better preparation for all of us in order to understand that years before Jesus appeared before Pontius Pilate, God already prepared him in this event not to do anything but to execute an innocent man so he will just get rid of his Jewish seed. Normally, he would have never done it. In light of this event, had Jesus did not come accidentally to die. The Bible says it was the perfect will of God the Father. In other words, even some events that appears to us